Do you know the story of an elephant who leads a herd of buffaloes? Elephants are highly intelligent and social creatures that live in herds, communicating with their friends. And even if it is a herd of different species, it is no exception. In Zimbabwe, Africa, there is a female elephant named Nuzu, who has an unusual background. Although she is an elephant, she has distanced herself from her fellow elephants and has become the leader of a herd of African buffaloes. Let's look at her story. Nuzu has orphaned after her parents were killed and came to Zimbabwe's wildlife sanctuary in the 1970s, when she was only 2 years old. At the time, the sanctuary had only one other male elephant besides her. The sanctuary's founder introduced her to a herd of African buffalo. The young elephant naturally came to live with them. Over time, she came to think of herself as an African buffalo. Later, when the number of protected elephants in the wildlife sanctuary increased and they began to form herds, the founder tried to add her to the herd. But she refused. She did not want to be separated from the group she had been with all her life. She was trusted by the buffaloes, and they had a strong bond with her. And when she turned 40 years old, she naturally decided to take over as leader of the buffaloes herd. It is not easy for creatures of different species to work together as a herd leader and herd. Normally, African buffaloes do not migrate that far. They prefer to live by the water, grazing. In contrast, elephants have the habit of roaming over a fairly large area in a day. Some elephants have been recorded to travel nearly 500 kilometers in a year. In this particular herd, the elephant's leadership has changed the lives of the buffaloes. They began to follow her on her daily 16-hour migration. African elephant herds are matrilineal societies, usually consisting mainly of females and their offspring. Naturally, the leader of the herd is the female. In contrast, the African buffalo herd is male-dominated, with a patriarchal social structure, and the position of leader is won by the male who wins the fight. As is often said, African elephants are temperamental, but African buffaloes are also notorious for their temperaments. They are said to be the most dangerous animals in Africa, and they not only stand up to lions, but sometimes even take their lives. She had never lived in an elephant herd before and had not had the opportunity to learn from her elders what it meant to lead a herd. So she had to find her own management style. When she was confronted by a young male, she twisted them around by force. So far, she has twisted as many as 14 males by force and left them for dead. Local farmers sometimes use African buffaloes for farming. They are valuable workers, and they cannot afford to have them killed. So the big male buffaloes and their young are isolated from the herds led by the elephants in order to avoid any quarrels among the herds. She no longer approach or communicate with their fellow elephants. The sanctuary staff believes that she has never learned how to communicate with other elephants and probably does not understand their language. Nevertheless, with her unique intelligence, kindness, and compassion, she seems to have not forgotten her loyalty to the humans who once protected and nurtured her. One day, a male keeper was attacked and injured by a young male buffalo. At that time, she stood in front of him and protected him from the attack by the buffalo until help arrived. I wish she and her herb continue to live happily in Africa.